Hello everyone, this is Yeeflex and welcome back to the behind the scenes video. As I promised in my last update video, this is the behind the scenes video for Sunrise. This is the first of hopefully many behind the scenes videos that I will be doing in the future. So today I'm just going to be going over more in depth of Sunrise, not so much the sounds per se, but more of like the backstory, certain parts of the song that were intriguing to me, some fun facts about Sunrise, and then some fun facts about the Diversity EP overall. So I just want to first off say that these behind the scenes videos, you guys have not seen them in a while because of a couple reasons. The first one being that my video recorder and microphone in the past were not really good. And for a long time, I couldn't find a good video recording software. I tried a lot of them, like OBS and stuff like that, but I couldn't really find a good one until I came upon a power recorder. And this one I had to pay for, but it seems to give pretty good results. And then the microphone I'm using now is a Razer mini microphone. I just invested a little bit of money into getting a better microphone, so hopefully it pays off. And sorry if the audio for some reason is low. I don't know, the last couple days when I was trying to record on this microphone, the audio was low, so bear with me on my first video. But basically these behind the scenes videos too in the past didn't get too many views, so it kind of deterred me a little bit from doing it, but now I'm not really caring too much because I just want to give you guys some content, and I want to make these behind the scenes videos kind of just for myself now. It's kind of a nice explainer for anyone interested in looking at how a song is made or learning something in terms of like tips and tricks from me. So hopefully this video will give you the insight on some of the stuff that I do and how my workflow is, but that's the reason why the behind the scenes videos were not being made for a while, just because of due to lack of a screen recorder and a good microphone, and just because I wasn't too into making them in the past as I am now that I am opening up these projects for the first time in a while. So let's get to the song. So here, as you see, this is the project Sunrise. So basically, the backstory behind this song is that Maezong and I made Reaching Halo in 2014. 4 years had gone by, and I think I looked back at Reaching Halo and noticed all the views that it had. Maybe it was like 300,000 or something. Still mind-boggling to me, but I think it's more now. And back then, I said to Maezong, hey man, it's been 4 years. Do you want to kind of do a reunion collab to try and see if we can collab on another song? He said, sure. And at that time, he was really into making down tempo. So he started a project, which is Sunrise, and he sent me the intro and the first drop, or part of this first drop. And I liked it a lot. So we started working on Sunrise. And fun fact, Sunrise, I think, among the 5 songs on the Diversity EP, is like one of 3 songs that we only took 2 weeks to make, which is really fast because not every song he and I made takes like that short. So this is one of those special songs that we kind of knew what was going on, and we kind of knew the vision behind what we wanted for Sunrise. So this was kind of like a 4-year-old reunion project. We didn't even think we were going to make an EP. We just thought we were going to make this song. So it's kind of interesting the Diversity EP even was created out of just starting on this one song because we hadn't made a song in 4 years. So this is definitely quite a song. And this song, amongst all the songs in the Diversity EP, is probably my second favorite song. My first is Traverse. And the reason why this is my second favorite song is because this song blends both Maezong's sound and my sound and style the best. I think Traverse and Sunrise do it, but Sunrise can even do it a little bit better because the way that collabs work is one person has the host file, and then the other person just kind of has like a I kind of call it like a dummy file, where they like work on stuff and send it to the person, and the person with the host file does all the mixing and adding all the effects. So Maezong had the main host file for the song, but he actually sent me a lot of audio, and I structured it in a way. So as you can see, this is like a complete project. Whereas you guys will see in the future, I think some of the Diversity EP projects, I want to say maybe like Midnight Cruise or Seaside, like most of it was done on his end and through me talking to him via chat and sending like short audio clips. So it's not like a full project like this in Ableton. So this is one of the few that has a full project. I think this one, Elevate and Traverse, all have full projects, and the other two might not. It's been a little while, but I think that's correct. But anyways, this is probably the best blend in style, and when I kind of go into the sounds and parts that I like of the song, you guys will kind of see why this is the best blend of Maezong and my style. But yeah, this song is definitely a really good representation of both of our styles combined into one song. So to dive into the project now, as you see here, this is the intro, and as you guys know, the intro sound is this sound. And actually the intro sound is called the Dulcimer. I don't really know how Maezong made it. He sent me the audio. I'm assuming it's a synthesizer, so it's like a synthetic guitar, not like a real guitar playing. But that is the main sound, that is the very like lead driving sound for the whole song. Like if you're gonna hear Sunrise, you know the sound of the Dulcimer, because once you hear that, you kind of know it's Sunrise. So that was his song. He sent me the Dulcimer, initially playing with the drums, with this bass line and some sound effects. And oddly enough, when I first made the song, the bass plucks actually came, I think, at the very end. It was kind of a late addition, but I added them in the intro. And these bass plucks are actually just Ableton Live, I think 9 stock plugins. They're somewhere here in this instrument rack. I remember I just kind of threw in a sound just to try it, just because I knew that it needed like a certain pluck texture on the bottom. And I didn't go to any of my third-party plugins, so I just kind of threw this one in, and it just seemed to fit. And it sounds kind of like a muted pluck like this. So it's definitely kind of just a stock plugin you could throw in through Ableton. But the piano sound that you hear play the chord trade-off with the bass pluck is actually from Nexus, so this trade-off here. You can see this chord pretty much plays out, and this chord I wrote myself. The pluck MIDI I think was from Maezong. He sent me that MIDI, and this piano on Nexus 2, I believe, yeah, Nexus 2 is called the Ballad Grand Piano in the piano section. It's a good piano preset. I mean, I use it a lot for various pianos in different projects. So that's basically the intro, is the pluck, the Dulcimer, the piano, and the bass line Maezong sent me. But as you can tell, the bass line doesn't even play in the beginning. It's very low, so you wouldn't really hear it. You would hear the plucks instead. So then you know how it goes from here. So this is the first drop. You might be wondering how come there isn't a filter kind of effect occurring here. Maezong actually added that on his end towards the end of production of the song, where he added the auto filter to cut it in out. So where the song will cut out before the drop, so it gives it more of an impact. But in the drop itself, the Dulcimer plays, and then he has his bell sound, which is audio from his end. But the more interesting sound is the bass sound that I added. So if you guys listen to my independent songs, you might have been able to recognize the sound, but you might not have been. This massive plugin is what I use to create this bass sound. Is actually, the plugin is massive, but this is the kind of preset, but I made the preset myself. It's the homemade bass growl number 1. I actually use the sound as kind of the one-shot bass sound in Albion, and that worked really well in Albion. So I really wanted a more driving force in the drop to the song, because the song is really clean and organic, but I just felt like there could have been like a little bit more distortion on the bottom as like a top bass. So it just plays the chords, but it has this kind of distorted sound, as you can tell, because it has the EQ here, but it has a saturator and it has overdrive. So when you hear it right now, it's a more distorted sound versus, let's turn these guys off. A very kind of synthetic, plain sound. So I wanted to give it a little bit more drive, so it would give it a little more character and texture. So it gives us some distortion, much needed distortion on the bottom end. So then that plays out, and then I have my risers in here. These are the risers I use for every project. It's from an old massive tutorial I watched on how to make a riser, and I've just been using it ever since. I kind of augmented it over the years, but it's pretty much been the same riser. I try and use it in every project. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but gotta include it when it counts. So then after the first drop, it goes into probably my favorite part of the song, which is the break. And the break is pretty interesting because if you guys also listen to my independent individual songs, not collabs, you would recognize this guitar sound. So this guitar sound is called the guitar Balladeer, and actually is the same guitar sound that I used in the writer. And just listen to it here. So yeah, that is the same guitar sound as I used in the writer, just in a different key. And this MIDI is MIDI I believe Maison sent me, because this is the same MIDI as the Dulcimer. I think the lead for, like, the main lead plays throughout the whole song. We just kind of changed the instruments. But this guitar Balladeer, going back to this sound, is actually a sound from Ableton Live 8. So this is a really old sound that's kind of transferred through the years. And it was a really good sound in the writer as the main lead of the song. And if you guys have never listened to that song, feel free to check it out. But that was the main lead sound of the song, and it has enough warmth and in the sound to where it could really carry its own, and it's really full as well. So the lead sound here is the guitar, and then the chord section is the guitar. And the chord section in this MIDI here, I believe, is part of Maison's chord section, but then I augmented it to have more of a rhythm, I guess you would say. So if you listen to it here, so it's just the main chord progression, just with like 8th and 16th notes, maybe even 32 notes. 32nd? Is there a 32nd? I'm not an expert on notes lengths, but at least 8th and 16th notes. But as you can tell, it kind of sounds like a galloping rhythm, which this section really kind of highlights, where it's just like the writer kind of gives it kind of a western kind of guitar, like a cowboyish vibe. if that makes sense at all. But that's kind of what I was going for, was kind of like a more cowboy guitar-ish, organic, almost like acoustic guitar playing. So this in itself is not a real guitar, it's a synthetic guitar. I know someone asked me before like if I used real guitars in the song, and no, all the guitars in the song were synthetic synths, but they sound really good. So I want to make this part sound as organic as possible, and I think it achieved that. The Balladeer is like a really good guitar plugin for Ableton Live 8 stock guitar. I mean, it's probably one of the best stock guitars I've seen in a while, and it was highly utilized here in the song. So we have that playing, and then we have the same piano chords playing here, just playing the chord progression as the intro. And then I know on Maisong's end, in the quote-unquote master file, he added drums here. So that's why there are no drums here. When we were initially making the song, I didn't think to add drums because I wasn't even sure if Maison was going to keep this section or change the sounds for this section. I thought the guitar lead sounded good, but I didn't think he would keep it at all. I thought he was going to like input it into his own sounds and then change it, but he liked it enough to where he let it stay in the song, and we both kind of agreed like, yeah, that was a good choice to leave it in the song. Like, it sounded really good and it kind of can hold its own. So that is probably my favorite part, the break. And then after that it goes into the second drop, and then the second drop is pretty similar to the first drop. There really is not much of a difference. There you have the bass playing, you have the bells and the dulcimer playing, and I'm not sure if the drum pattern even changes. No, the drum pattern doesn't change. It's pretty much carbon copy. Same with the outro. The outro is pretty similar. Just the thing with the outro is we kind of flipped it, but the dulcimer plays with the piano chords, so it gives it a nice kind of chordal outro. And then after that, like, the drum fill hits, and then the bells play with the bass pluck to give that like a really nice outro. And then my old sound, the ding, plays. Just like a really brief short story on the ding. This is a sound my buddy Paper Wolf, we used to go by Great Paper Wolf, and I kind of had an inside joke about. We'd always wanted to add a ding into a song when we first started kind of producing together towards the end of our high school time. So that was maybe around 2014-ish, 2013 to 2014-ish. We were just like messing around saying, hey, you know, the ding sound would be really fun to add into a song. And it was kind of like our inside joke, and Paper Wolf like recorded it through Audacity because he couldn't find one we could download. And then ever since, for that 4-year span, I would say between 2014 and 2018 to this EP, I was using the ding sound. But after this EP, I kind of retired the ding sound because you know, the joke lasted, 4 years, and that was long enough for me. So it's kind of a nice reminder when I do see this ding sound in the in my songs, because it's kind of like one of those trademark little sounds that was always in my songs before. But that is Sunrise overall as a song. This is the master chain that I normally use. This EQ8 I sometimes use now, but most of the time I just take off the 6, the 2, and the 3, so I don't really have any cuts, and I just kind of cut off some low end at around 40 and around 17,000 kilohertz. But this was kind of an older song, so I was still using this EQ, which is not bad. I think the cuts for the 6 is at 96, the cuts for the 2 is at 511, the cuts for the 3 is at 7,001 kilohertz. Yeah. So And then I have a compressor here just to kind of compress the files a little bit more. Some reverb, some multiband dynamics, some EQ, a limiter, and then a spectrum. Even though I didn't do the final master, I just like to do this every once in a while just in case, to get like a good feel of the song. I know I used to do this a lot more back then. Now I kind of scale it back a little bit when I know I am not running the master file, because I don't have to, use as many effects and slow down my Ableton on my side if the other artist is gonna mainly host the project and use the effects on his end. So I don't want to make my mix and then him make his mix and have two different things. So I just kind of scale back now. But before, I used to do the full chain like this, and so I can get a really good read on what the song was gonna sound like. So there is a subsection, but I know Maezong had his own sub put in, but I think this sub was just basically notes from the chord progression. But there's nothing too crazy there. Personally I use an operator, just like a clean operator as a sub, but that's just me. And then this audio file here is I think one of the project files for Sunrise. I'm not sure if it's even no, it's not the last one. I think it's one of the first. I think this is one of the first Sunrise files before mastering. Like this was like one of the first completed ones, because we went section by section. This probably is one of the first completed ones. Yeah, so this is one of the first completed files. And in other projects that you'll see that I collabed with other artists, there are many sound files, because that's how we normally transfer things to each other, is either through audio files and MIDI files, through Dropbox or something like that. But I'll go into more depth of that when I do my behind the scenes of a collab video. But this is Sunrise overall. This is the first song of the Diversity EP, and ironically, we started with Sunrise and then we ended with the Midnight Cruise. By the time I realized that's how it ended, I think it was by the time I was finishing Midnight Cruise, and I realized like, oh wait, it could start with a Sunrise. Maybe we'll do something, because you know how most synthwave songs are. They're like really 80s vibe, like Neon Lights or something like that, or Neon Dreams. So I went with Midnight Cruise, and it's interesting because, as the morning starts, there's a sunrise, and then at the end of the day, at midnight, you take a cruise throughout this whole EP. So that's very interesting in itself. The order of the EP just goes in order of when Maezong and I started the project. So we started Sunrise first, then shortly after started Elevate, then shortly after that started Traverse, shortly after that started Seaside, and then lastly we made and started Midnight Cruise. So that was all the order. That wasn't like a particular song order, like we made Elevate first and we made Sunrise first. No, those were just the orders we made the songs in. So overall, Sunrise it's my second favorite song in the EP. As you can see why, because there's a lot of combination of my sound and Maezong's sound in this song. And it was kind of the only time I will make down tempo. I don't even think Maezong makes down tempo that much anymore. This was just kind of like one of those phases that he was going through, but it was a really fun experience making down tempo. I don't normally make music within the 105 BPM. I normally go within like 128 to 174, all through that range, because I kind of like the 150, 160, 170, and 174, especially for like drum and bass and kind of electronic drum steppish type stuff. But when I want to make like house, it's like 128, and trance is like 130. So this is probably the first song that's gone to 105. I know Swing Line's at 110, but I don't think I've dropped down to 105 except for this song. So anyways, enough of me rambling. This is Sunrise, and hopefully you guys learn something listening to me talk and break down certain things about this song. I didn't go too heavy into the details on like the massive preset and how I made that preset, because this is more of like a casual, general perspective of how the song is made. If you really do want to see stuff like that, I don't know if I'm the best person to show you, but I could just make a dedicated video to how I made some of the sounds. But to be quite honest, some of the sounds I kind of made so long ago, I don't even really remember how I made them. So overall, this is Sunrise, and I hope you guys like this video. I hope you guys learned something from this video, and I hope you guys enjoy these behind the scenes videos, and there will be more coming out soon. I plan to do the whole Diversity EP, some of my other collabs, and then some of my other independent songs as well. So I'm planning to do this as a more current thing. Just sometimes the audio might be lower than some other videos because my microphone sometimes goes lower, sometimes goes higher. It's a little bit strange, but as long as you guys can hear what I'm saying, that's all that matters. So that's it, everyone. Have a good one. Peace.